the way.
It might be the old logo, but here we are. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fatherly Fandom Live. I'm your host, Chris. And if you love Star Wars, Marvel, DC, comic book movies, television, animation, and all things nerdy, you're absolutely in the right place. I hope everybody is having a fantastic week. I know I am. And, hey, yeah, happy Wednesday, guys. And we've got so much to talk about tonight, guys. A lot to talk about. So let's get into it, okay? We're talking Supergirl and whether it can become the next big success story for the DCU. We're talking Masters of the Universe and what its latest box office numbers mean for the future of He-Man and possibly even She-Ra. We're talking Wolverine. We're talking Lanterns. We're talking Clayface. We're talking the brand new Spider-Man, brand new day trailer that just dropped today. The reactions from fans from this possibility with Sadie Sink possibly as Jean Grey and what that could mean for the future of the X-Men in the MCU. And we're talking Luke Skywalker's missing years and what's coming next in the series here on Fatherly Fandom. And before we wrap up tonight, I want to give a quick shout out to my friend Jamie Stormbreaker because his game Swap Meet officially launches today on Steam. So we've got a packed show for you. So now, before we get started, let me know where you're watching from, guys. And if you're joining us live, jump into the chat and say hello. And while you're at it, tell me which topic you're most excited for discussing tonight. Is it Supergirl, Spider-Man, Luke Skywalker, Lanterns, Master of the Universe? Let me know in the comments because we're going to be reading comments throughout the entire show. So let me check in, see how we're doing. Woo! All right. We got your not your status quo saying Detroit Rock City. Whoop, whoop. All right. Melissa Tressler, my wife. Love you, baby. She says, woot, Swap Meet is so good. Yeah, she got to play it today on Steam. If you can, try to play for 10 minutes. Oh, we got an absolutely. That's right. Absolutely. And Keith's in the chat, and he's randomly dancing. Okay, so here we go. All right, for everybody out there, how's the music level? If somebody can chime in, let me know how that is. If it's too loud, let me know. And just, all right, here we go. He says, and just so you know, Detroit has a skyline too. Excellent. I love it. So let me know in the chat. How's the music? Is it too loud? You know, afterwards, from the last chat, after the live stream, it seemed to be a little too low for me. So music level's good. Not just let's go. Thank you for that, guys. All right, so let's start to get into what we're gonna do today. All right, if I can pull this up a little. Sorry, little technicals. Boom. All right, so guys, I want to talk to you guys about how this live stream works. If this is your first time joining us. Now, if you're new to this channel, I want to quickly explain how these live streams are going to work because I don't want this to become just me sitting here talking at you for the next 45 to an hour. And I want this to be an actual conversation, guys. So here's how we're going to work this. We're going to break the stream into several different sections, different topics. We'll talk about the news. We'll talk about what that means. And I'll give my thoughts. And then at the end of each segment, we're going to open things up and read comments from all of you out there. So don't wait until the end of the show. Comment throughout the stream. Tell me if you agree. Tell me if you disagree. Tell me your theories. Tell me your predictions. Tell me what you think I got completely wrong. Because honestly, guys, some of the best conversations we've ever had on this channel started because somebody in the chat brought up an idea I hadn't considered. Especially you, Doug. I'm giving you a shout out. Some of the best conversations in this come from the guys over at Not Your Status Quo. So check them out, subscribe to them now. And that's one of the reasons I enjoy doing these live streams so much. We all come from different fandoms, different generations, different experiences. Some of you know Star Wars better than I do. Some of you know Marvel better than I do. Some of you know DC better than I do. And that's what makes these discussions so much fun, guys. So keep those comments coming throughout the show. And one more thing. If there's a movie, a television show, a comic book, a character, a theory, or a topic you want me to cover in future videos on the live stream, please let me know. Some of my favorite things on this channel started because someone suggested those in the comments, like I said. And Fatherly Fandom isn't just my channel, it's our community. And I genuinely want to hear from you and want to see what you think about this next. All right. And one last thing before we jump into this with our first topic, I just want to thank every single one of you for being here. Fatherly Fandom is still a relatively small channel. We're not one of the giant YouTube channels out there. We're not backed by a big studio. We're not backed by a media company. We're just a group of nerds getting together every week to talk about the stories we love. And honestly, that's exactly what makes this community so special. So if you enjoy this and you enjoy what we're doing here and want to help support the channel, you absolutely, the best thing you can do is hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the channel with your friends, family, and fellow nerds out there. And the best part, it's completely free. Those single action help YouTube show this video to more people out there. They help us reach more fans. They help us continue building this amazing community together. So if you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you're already subscribed, thank you guys. Seriously, every single one of you out there help build what Fatherly Fandom is becoming. All right, let's get into the first topic here. So we're going to switch on over. Boom. And pull that up. Always got these lovely graphics. So as you'll see, here's all the topics we're going to be covering tonight on the stream for all of you out there. And before we get started with the first subject, let's go back to comments and see if we have anything here. All right, Olivia, my daughter, love you. She says, clock it. I now know what clock it means, guys. So that's a lot of fun. I'm gonna turn the sound down a little bit on this. I can hear a little bit better. Okay, there we go. All right. Looking. That's my wife, Melissa. Love you. She says, looking. And nice haircuts from Not Your Sasco. Thank you, good sir. I did get a haircut, so it's not as long anymore. Oh, my wife says, yeah, looking great. Baby, you're also looking great. And I hope I can get you on the live stream at some point in the future. Okay. We're going to dive into our first subject of the night here. So hold on, people. We're going to be talking about Supergirl. Is it a hit or trouble for the DCU, guys? Let's start with this. So Supergirl. Now, this movie has quietly become one of the most important projects in the entire DCU because if Superman was the launch pad, Supergirl is one of the first major tests of whether audiences are willing to follow James Gunn's universe beyond Clark Kent. And this week, we got last week actually, we got a brand new clip about the movie. And honestly, what stood out to me wasn't the action, it wasn't the visual effects, it was the tone. The scene felt very hopeful. It felt fun. And it immediately showcased Superman's personality. Kara arrives speaking Kryptonian, and Clark's first instinct is to try and help her, to communicate, to connect, and honestly, that's Superman, guys. That scene also did a nice job showing that Kara feels different than Clark. A little rougher around the edges, a bit more rebellious, and exactly what I wanted. Because Supergirl shouldn't just feel like Superman with a different costume. And speaking of Superman, one detail I learned this week that I absolutely love about Millie Alcott's recently revealed that her cape was actually made using material from the same original fabric used for Christopher Reeve's Superman cape. According to Alcott, my cape in this film was remade using materials from the original Superman cape. I think they found 16 meters of that material. And honestly, guys, I think that's really, really cool. Not because it changes the movie, not because it affects the story, but because it shows a respect for the legacy of the character. How amazing is that? Christopher Reeve's Superman inspired generations of fans. And for many people, he is still the definitive Superman. So the idea that a small piece of that history is literally woven into Supergirl's costume feels like a really thoughtful tribute. I love it. And honestly, I think that's exactly the kind of thing DC should be doing. And moving forward while still respecting the past. Now beyond the clip, let's talk about why this movie actually matters. Current industry tracking has Supergirl opening somewhere near $45 to $55 million domestically. Though projections continue to move as release gets closer to pre-sales, they continue to come in and they continue to project these numbers. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I find this movie so fascinating, guys, because right now, there seems to be a pretty wide range of opinions about where this film is ultimately going to land. Some people think it's it's going to be significantly outperform expectations. Others think it could actually struggle. And that's exactly why opening weekend is going to be so interesting to watch. The film reportedly carries a production budget of around 175 million. And that's likely going to be somewhere north of and that it's going to need to cover about $400 million worldwide to clear the theatrical success. Now, here's the thing. I don't think the most important question here is opening weekend. I think the most important question is whether audiences actually connect with the character of Kara. Because if audiences connect with the character, the DCU is gonna win. If they don't, that's a much bigger problem than opening weekend numbers. And honestly, everything I've seen so far has me cautiously optimistic. The trailer looks good, the clip looked good, the early buzz seems positive. And one of the things that really encourages me is that it feels like the movie is trying to be its own thing. It has its own identity. It doesn't feel like Superman 2. It doesn't feel like a leftover project from a previous era. It feels like its own story. And that's important because DC isn't going to build a successful universe if every project feels the same. The bigger question for me is, can DC create a universe where audiences are excited for characters beyond Superman and Batman? Because honestly, guys, that's why I'm so interested in seeing how this movie actually performs. Now, because I care about the box office numbers for their own sake, I think that this is going to tell a lot about the DC's future. Can audiences get excited about this character beyond Superman and Batman? Can DC build momentum across multiple franchises? Can they create a universe where every project feels unique? Those are the questions I'm really interested in. And I hopefully we start getting some answers very soon. So, chat, what do you think? Is Supergirl going to be a major hit? A solid success? Somewhere in the middle? A disappointment? And where does it rank on your list of most anticipated DCU projects? For me, it's definitely near the top, right alongside Lanterns. Okay, let's go to the comments, guys. Boom. And okay, we got Keith saying Millie is going to crush it. Cannot wait for this movie. Not Your Status Quo says, that is such a cool thing. Boom. And Melissa says, I am really enjoying the darker, grittier tone from the Supergirl trailers. Very excited to see Millie's performance. I agree. I like the tone of it. I feel like it's very synonymous with something like Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm absolutely looking forward to it. I'm not going to forget, absolutely. If you guys don't know, on Not Your Status Quo, whenever you say absolutely, you take a drink. It's one of those words that we use quite a bit, and I still tend to use it quite a bit. So that kind of is a deterrent from using it too much. Olivia says, goated. That picture you got, Olivia, is pretty interesting on your profile there. All right, guys. So if there's any other comments about Supergirl, get them in right now. We're going to be moving on in just a second to our next little bit of news and information for the night, which is going to be Masters of the Universe. And any other thoughts on Supergirl? I think it's going to be a really good movie, and we've already got tickets for it. Hey, it's Aura. Okay. Are we aura farming here? Is that something the kids say nowadays? I'm not sure. Okay, guys, we're going to be moving on to our next subject here. It's Masters of the Universe time. You know, me and the wife got to go check this movie out. So I want to talk about this surprising story from the summer. Masters of the Universe. Honestly, guys, I don't think many people expected He-Man to become one of the more interesting box office conversations of the year. But here we are. The film opened to approximately $29.3 million domestically and roughly $54.3 million worldwide during its opening weekend. Now, here's where things get really interesting. As of this week, the movie has climbed to approximately $86 million worldwide, including about $46.7 million domestically. And honestly, that means we've moved beyond opening weekend. The real question now is whether the movie has enough momentum to build beyond its initial audience. Because when you're looking at a movie with a reported budget between 170 million and 200 million dollars, you're gonna need a lot more than 86 million worldwide to get where you want to go. Now, what's really fascinating about this is the audience reactions. Critics have generally landed around the upper 60s to low 70s range. Meanwhile, audiences have remained overwhelmingly positive, sitting around the high 80s on Rotten Tomatoes. And honestly, that's a pretty significant gap. It suggests fans are enjoying the movie more than the critics, which is pretty typical nowadays, right? And for franchises like He-Man, the audience reaction may end up being the most important number of all, because Masters of the Universe doesn't need everyone. It needs its own audience. The question is whether the audience is large enough to support future films. Now, let's talk about what success actually looks like for this film. With a reported budget of between 170 and 200 million, the movie's going to likely need to end up somewhere between 400 and 500 million dollars worldwide to be a success. That's a pretty tall order, guys, especially in today's movie landscape. But here's where things get interesting. The filmmakers clearly aren't treating this as a one and done movie. The post-credit scene teases the arrival of Adora. If you guys don't know who that is, that's She-Ra. So that was really cool to see. And director Travis Knight has openly talked about wanting to explore that side of the mythology if the franchise actually continues. Now, let's be clear. There is currently no official announcements about a trilogy. There isn't currently an official announcement about a standalone She-Ra movie, but based on the ending, the post-credit scenes, and the comments from the filmmakers, it's pretty obvious they have a bigger plan in store. And honestly, that's pretty exciting because they're not just trying to tell a He-Man story here. They're trying to build the Eternia universe. And what's also interesting is that Amazon doesn't seem to be judging this movie purely on theatrical reviews or revenue. The studio itself has repeatedly talked about a broader strategy involving streaming, merchandise, audience engagement, a long-term franchise value beyond the theatrical window. So, while some people are already calling the movie a flop, the studio appears to be looking at a much bigger picture. And honestly, that's something we're seeing more and more here in Hollywood. Theatrical revenue is still incredibly important, but the franchise based on major brands, studios are increasingly looking at streaming performance, merchandise sales, audience engagement, and future expansion opportunities as a part of the equation. And one thing I've noticed is that the conversation feels surprisingly similar to what's happening with Supergirl. In both cases, fans seem more positive than many analysts. In both cases, people are debating box office projections, and in both cases, the next few weeks are going to tell us whether or not there's positive fan reactions can translate into big ticket sales, because ultimately, franchises don't survive on projections. They survive on audiences showing up. And this definitely feels like a show that you should check out. My wife and I really, really enjoyed it. It was fun, captivating, but I want to hear what you guys think. So let's go to the chat. What did you think of Masters of the Universe? Did you enjoy it? And if a sequel happens, would you rather see more He-Man, She-Ra, or a larger Eternia universe? And do you think Masters of the Universe can still become a long-term franchise? Let's read some of the comments here. Boom. Boom. Most anticipated DCU. Oh, this is from the Supergirl. Most anticipated DCU: Man of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Lanterns, and Batman, and Brave and the Bold. Okay, got that. All right, Keith says Masters of the Universe was a wonderful popcorn film. Loved it so much. Same, Keith. Same. All right, we got Melissa here. She says Masters of the Universe was a blast to watch in the theater. It was my first exposure to anything in the world, and now I want to watch all the things in that world, which was awesome to see. My wife hasn't seen any of the other Masters of the Universe stuff, didn't grow up with it, and so it's great getting to see her perspective and see how much she enjoyed it. So it worked with casual fans, and it worked with hardcore fans as well, and it somehow weaved all that together to create something very entertaining. So I would highly suggest everybody go out and check Masters of the Universe. All right. So we're going to be moving on here. If you got any more comments, get them in right now before we move on to the next subject here as we go. Boom. And I do apologize, guys. I'm feeling a little under the weather tonight too, and I almost canceled the live stream, but I wanted to get on here because I missed last week too, so I just wanted to get here with all the news that we got to talk about. And so, if the live stream is suffering because of that, I do apologize, but I'm here for you guys. So here we go. So we're gonna go to the next little thing here, and it's about Wolverine, guys. It's gonna be fun. So let me get this set up. And we're gonna go boosh and talk about Wolverine's future in the MCU. Before we do that, I'm just gonna double check on the comments to see if there's anything else. Nope. So we're good to go on that. So let's get started. Now, we're gonna switch over to this Marvel character for just a few minutes here because there's one character that needs to be talked about in this conversation. Obviously, it's Wolverine. Am I pointing to the right area too? Last stream, I kept pointing to the wrong area. So let me know in the comments. And it was mirrored last time too. So this should be the right area. So honestly, guys, I completely understand why we need to talk about Wolverine. For an entire generation of fans out there, Hugh Jackman isn't just an actor who played Wolverine. He is Wolverine. When people picture Logan, they absolutely picture Hugh Jackman. Absolutely. Gotta get that in. And picturing Hugh Jackman is pretty incredible when you think about it, because when Hugh first was cast back in 1999, a lot of fans thought it was a terrible choice. I know, shocking. Couldn't believe that today, but people did back in the day. Comic Wolverine is really nothing like Hugh Jackman. Comic Wolverine was short, stocky, rough around the edges, and Hugh Jackman, he really didn't fit that image at the time. Fast forward more than 25 years later, and now many fans can't imagine anyone else playing the role. That is a testament to how iconic his performance has become. But it also creates a challenge for Marvel, because eventually, whether it's next year, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, when Hugh Jackman is 95 years old, Marvel is going to have to make a huge decision, guys. Can Hugh Jackman keep playing Wolverine forever? Maybe if they invent that super soldier serum and keep him alive forever, let's do that. But if not, he's eventually going to have to be replaced. Now, before anybody panics, I'm not saying Marvel should recast this guy tomorrow. I'm definitely not saying I don't want to see him in Avengers Doomsday or Secret War. I absolutely do. But eventually, every major franchise reaches a point where a new actor has to step into these roles. We've seen it with Batman. We've seen it with Superman. We've seen it with James Bond. And somebody is probably going to have to take over the role of Wolverine, guys. Sorry to say. The challenge is finding someone who can bring something new to this role while still respecting what Hugh actually did. We've heard names like Daniel Radcliffe. We've heard names like Taron Egerton. And we've heard dozens of fan castings over the years. I actually presented a video way back in the day stating that Henry Cavill would be a good choice, and we got him in Deadpool. And I put out that video way before the Deadpool movie, Deadpool and Wolverine. So I was glad to see Henry Cavill step into the role. Still would love to see him today. And you know, part of me wonders if Marvel might be better off finding someone completely unexpected too. Not Henry Cavill, not one of those big names, because what happened with Hugh Jackman? Nobody expected him to actually bring that performance to life and become the epitome of what we see in Wolverine. It ended up becoming the definitive Wolverine, guys. The reason this discussion matters is because Wolverine isn't just another Marvel character. He's one of the pillars of X-Men, my favorite character, by the way. And eventually Marvel is going to need a Wolverine who can carry the stories for the next decade or more, especially if they do a reset, you know? Because let's be honest, when most people think X-Men, one of the very first characters you think about is Wolverine. So whenever the day does come, the pressure is going to be enormous. And honestly, I don't envy whoever gets that job. Imagine being the actor who has to follow Hugh Jackman. That's not just filling a role. That's following one of the most iconic comic book performances ever put on screen. But here's the thing, guys. People said the same thing about Batman. People said the same thing about James Bond. People said the same thing about Superman. And yet, every generation eventually finds its version of these characters. So maybe somebody will find another actor out there who can redefine Wolverine for an entirely new generation. And honestly, that's kind of exciting. All right, guys, let's go to the chat. Let me ask you guys some questions. Should Marvel ever recast Wolverine, or should Hugh Jackman remain Wolverine for as long as he wants the role? I mean, play it until he's dead, right? And if you had to cast the next Wolverine today, who would you choose? Would you choose Daniel Radcliffe, Taron Egerton, Henry Cavill, or someone completely unknown? Or somebody else that I don't know of? Let me know down in the comments, Lo. Let's go to those comments right now. Boom! Hey! Okay. I'm pointing to the right area. So, apologies from last time. I did have like a mirroring effect on the last one. Yay! He says, yes, you got it right. Period. That's Olivia. Not Your Status Quo says, until he is 90. So Not Your Status Quo wants Hugh Jackman until he's 90 years old. And, I'd be fine with that. Keith says, recast after Secret Wars. Not that I don't love him as Wolverine, but time to let him retire. I can also see that, and I can also support that as well. And especially if they're going to do a major reset for MCU moving forward after Secret Wars, that's the perfect time to do it, especially since they're introducing a whole new X-Men eventually. Yes, this is the time to do a recast. All right. Melissa, the wonderful Melissa, the magnanimous, I can't talk tonight, magnanimous Melissa. There we go. I want a Wolverine in live action just like the X-Men 97 one. Oh, this brings up a good point. Yes, X-Men 97 Wolverine. That was my first, well, I'll take that back. I did like some of the first comics I read as a kid were X-Men, and so that was my first iteration of Wolverine was from the actual comic. But shortly after that, I got to watch X-Men the animated series, and that Wolverine became the epitome of Wolverine in my mind. And then, of course, later on, when I was a teen, showing my age here, I got to see Wolverine as Hugh Jackman, and he has become a legend at the character. But yes, I would love to see the next actor kind of take on the attributes of the of Wolverine that we see from X-Men 97. That is a great point. All right, let's see here. Not Just Status Quo says, Henry is too old, but Daniel would be cool. Yeah, Henry is getting a little older, sadly, but I do want to see him in something, since he's not going to be playing Superman. Daniel Radcliffe, I know a lot of people like him as a character. I just don't see him as Wolverine. He did great as Weird Al. Love that rendition. But for me personally, I don't see him playing Wolverine. Though he is an incredible actor, I'm not saying he's not. He would do a fantastic job in the role, I'm sure, but just personal choice, wouldn't want to see him. He would be acting. Acting! Yes, he would be. He would definitely be Not Your Status Quo. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next subject here, guys. So hold on to your butts. Let's go into the next section. All right. Stick that down. Boom. Move on. So we're going to be talking about lanterns, everybody. So let's go. So now let's talk about this project that has quietly become one of the most anticipated shows of next year's. And yes, we're talking lanterns. And honestly, guy, the more I hear about this series, the more excited I'm becoming. Because when this project was first announced, I think a lot of people assumed we're going to get another gigantic cosmic superhero story, right? Green Lantern rings, alien worlds, huge CGI battles, space adventures. And don't get me wrong, I really love that stuff. But the more details that come out about lanterns, the more it sounds like it's going to be something completely different, especially from the trailers. This sounds like it's going to be a mystery, a detective story. A lot of people are comparing it to True Detective, a character drama. And honestly, that might be the best thing that DC could do with this franchise. One of the reasons Andor connected with so many people wasn't because it was a giant action, because of the giant action scenes. It wasn't because of lightsabers. It wasn't because it was a fan service thing. It was because it was focused on these characters, relationships, atmosphere, world building. some of the best writing out there. And from everything we've been hearing about Lanterns, it seems like it might be taking a similar approach. Now, am I saying Lanterns is going to be as good as Andor? Absolutely not. That is a high bar, guys. We haven't seen a single episode of the show yet, but I understand why fans keep making this comparison. The tone feels different. The approach feels different. And honestly, I'm really excited about that, because not every superhero story needs to be about saving the universe. Sometimes a smaller story can feel bigger because you're very much more invested in that small story, the characters. And from everything we've heard, that's exactly where Lantern seems to be putting its focus. Now, let's talk about why this show matters, guys, because I actually think Lanterns might be one of the most important projects in the entire DCU. Superman helped launch the universe. Supergirl is the next big test. But Lanterns itself is one of the first opportunities DC has to prove that this universe can work on television too. I know that we've gotten Creature Commandos, but having a live action show like this needs to succeed, and it's the next big test for the DCU. Now, you're proving that audiences are willing to follow this universe across different formats. That's the big move. We have to prove that a story like this can be interwoven into these different formats. Movies, streaming, different genres, different characters, and that's a shared universe that's how the shared universe can become sustainable. And honestly, the cast only makes me more optimistic. Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan, Aaron Pierre as Jon Stewart. That's an extremely strong foundation, guys. And from everything we've heard so far, the dynamic between those two characters could end up being one of the biggest strengths of the show. Because at its core, Lantern sounds like a story about two very different Green Lanterns trying to solve a mystery together. And honestly, that's a great premise. And one thing I've noticed recently is that fans seem increasingly interested in comic book stories that feel different. Not every project needs to be bigger. Sometimes it just needs to be better. And Lanterns feels like a show that's trying to be different. And I think that's a big reason why excitement continues to grow for the show. And honestly, guys, if Lantern succeeds, I think it may become one of the most important projects in the entire DCU. Not because it's Green Lanterns, not because it proves whether DC can succeed outside of Superman and Batman. If audiences embrace Lanterns, suddenly the DCU becomes a lot bigger than just its famous characters. And that's when a shared universe starts becoming really exciting. Now, chat, I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? Are we excited for Lanterns? Do you think that the Andor comparisons are fair? Or are we overhyping this? And right now, which upcoming DCU project are you excited for? Supergirl, Lanterns, Clayface, or something else entirely? Let's read some of the comments. Let's go. All right. Here we go. All right, we got Keith. He says, the true detective of the DCU cannot wait. Same. I am so looking forward to the show. Having it on HBO, having it feel like a true detective show with Lanterns. Can't wait. That would be chef's kiss. All right, here we go. We got Keith says, James Gunn has said the mystery of the heart is at the heart of Lanterns is going to be huge for the rest of Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters of DCU. Okay, and if you guys don't know, James Gunn is describing, it's kind of like phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's calling this Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters. So that's like their version of phase 1 is part of this. So, all right, I agree. And Olivia says, clock it. We're clocking it in. Absolutely. I need a drink. So, all right. Now, we're going to move on, guys. So, hold on to your butts. And in the chat, if you guys can tell me what I am quoting there, let me know. All right, so let's go over here. So we're gonna be talking. Boom. So the next subject up is gonna be Clayface, guys. Boom. Woo! This is DC's biggest wild card, and I gotta say, going back to DC here. Well, everybody is talking about Superman, Supergirl, and Lanterns. This project is quietly sitting on the schedule, and it might be the biggest wild card in the entire DCU. And honestly, guys, 5 years ago, if you told me DC was going to make a major Clayface movie, I probably would have laughed. Not because Clayface is a bad character, but because he's not exactly the first character most people think about when they think of DC. Most casual fans think of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, but Clayface? That's a much tougher sell. And if you enjoyed the animated series from Batman, you'll know who this character is, and you'll know exactly why this is exciting. And it's exactly the most fascinating project I think that we're going to get. Hot take from DC right now. Because from everything we've heard so far, this doesn't sound like a traditional superhero movie, guys. It sounds like a horror movie. A body horror movie. And honestly, that immediately makes it one of the most unique projects on DC's slate. One of the biggest criticisms comic book movies have faced over the past several years is that too many of them feel similar. Big action, big CGI battles, big sky beams, big universe-ending threats, and sometimes those movies can be fun, don't get me wrong, but sometimes audiences want something different. And that's why Clayface has my attention, because it feels different. Now, obviously, we still have a lot of questions. We've seen only a teaser trailer. We haven't seen very much footage. The teaser looked amazing, by the way. We don't know exactly what the final movie is going to look like as a whole, but the fact that DC is willing to take a risk on a character like Clayface tells me something very important. They're not just trying to make another superhero movie. They're not trying to make a Batman movie. They're not trying to make a Superman movie. They're trying to build a universe where different genres can exist side by side in the same universe, which I love. And this is all part of that connected story, that Gods and Monsters Chapter 1. And think about it. Superman is optimistic science fiction. Supergirl looks like a cosmic adventure, kind of Guardians of the Galaxy style. Lanterns appears to be that detective mystery story. And Clayface itself looks like it could be a horror film. And honestly, that's a pretty diverse lineup, guys. And I think that's exactly what DC needs, because if every project feels different, audiences have a reason to keep coming back. Now, here's the big question. Can DC actually make audiences care about Clayface? Because let's be honest, making people care about Superman isn't very difficult. Making people care about Batman, not difficult at all. Those characters are already icons. But making people care about Clayface, that's a completely different challenge. And honestly, if they pull that off, it might end up being one of the strongest signs yet that the DCU is working. And it differentiates it from the MCU, because it means audiences trust the universe enough to follow it into unfamiliar territory. And that's when a shared universe becomes really interesting. Not when it relies on the biggest characters, but when it elevates characters that most people barely know. So while Superman and Supergirl might be getting most of the attention right now, don't sleep on Clayface, guys. This could end up being one of the most interesting projects DC has made in years. And honestly, the more I think about it, the more I love the fact that DC is willing to take these large swings like this, because whether Clayface succeeds or fails, it's at least different and at least trying something new. And right now, I think that's exactly what comic book movies need. So, chat, I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? Would you rather see DC focus on more Superman, more Batman, creative risk like this, or go to things like Teen Titans? And honestly, how many of you would absolutely be excited about a Clayface movie 5 years ago? Let's read the comments. And I said absolutely, so we'll do this. Let's go to the comments. And congratulations, Melissa, my wonderful wife. I love you so much. One of the many reasons why I married her is she gets the references. Hold on to your butts comes from Jurassic Park. Yes. Good job. All right. We got Keith saying the fact that Clayface wasn't part of the initial plan, but DC Studios loved the script so much they fast-tracked it, and it will be the third movie in the DCU. Yep. Yeah. And Keith is absolutely right. Gotta drink again. Sorry. Okay. Keith is right. So this script came to them, and it wasn't initially a part of the plan, but it was so good that they fast-tracked it so that it could be released. That's another reason I'm so excited for this project, and it's going to be pretty incredible, I hope. But it looks amazing, And I love what they did with the marketing too. There was a video that came out comparing the marketing for Clayface and compared it to Mandalorian and Grogu, where we got oversaturated with advertisements, clips from the movie, and things like that. I think that caused a detriment to the film, whereas Clayface gave us a short little clip it and give us everything that we need. I'm super pumped for it just for that. I don't need anything else going into this movie, and I'm super excited for it. What do you guys think in the chat? All right. And Melissa says, people talk about superhero fatigue all the time. How to cure that? Give the audience a different spin, different vibe / favor. I agree. And I think this is one of the ways that the DCU can stand out compared to the MCU. Not saying that the MCU isn't great and isn't doing things that I absolutely love. Absolutely. But I think this is a great move for the DCU. I think this is a great move that James Gunn is making. And I know, guys, that a lot of people are a little frustrated and they want to see things like Teen Titans and other major DC characters come out. And we got word about Gorilla Garage Show with Jimmy Olsen as an interviewer on the show or whatnot. But that movie is coming out and they're fast tracking that and they're going to start production soon, according to James Gunn. And a lot of people, after hearing this, were initially reacting kind of negatively because they want these other projects. But let me tell you this. One of the things I think is important is to get these characters right. Give the characters room to grow and breathe and produce the best stories possible. Let's focus on better stories rather than fast tracking these stories and getting something that's subpar, right? So we want the best things to be produced first. And so I think that is where they're going with this. At least that's how it appears they're going with this. So we shall see. All right, Nachi Status Quo says, Batman, the animated series, made us all care about Clayface, so I hope this movie can do the same. Agreed. One of the best stories from Clayface came from Batman, the animated series. I still that is a core memory for me as a kid. I love that. If that is anything like this Clayface movie, I'm going to love it, for sure. Keith says, we need Teen Titans, Wonder Woman, Batman, Brave and the Bold, Flash, and, well, everything. We do. But again, I want them to take their time and do it right. So I'm willing to wait when it comes to these big tent poles from DC, as if they're waiting to do this right, if they're waiting to get a story that's captivating and worth making. And Not Your Status Quo says, the Gorilla Grodd is a series and could lead into The Flash. Yeah, that would be really cool. And I want to hear from you guys on this one too. When it comes to The Flash, here is my thought, hot take maybe for you guys. I really think if you're going to bring anybody into the role of the Flash, if we're going to tease that at some point, why don't we go to the best version of the Flash ever? Why don't we go to Grant Gustin? I'm talking Grant Gustin, guys. I think that we should definitely consider having him reprise his role in this new version of the Flash. He was amazing in the show. He was the only reason that show worked for as many seasons as it did. And man, I would love to see it. And Keith says, has got to be Wally West. Yeah, that would be an interesting take too. If they bring somebody like Grant Gustin into being Wally West and then catapulting the new Flash and whoever that's going to be. I would like to see that too. Give Grant Gustin any role, please do. That would be amazing. Okay, guys, we're going to be moving on here to our next subject. So hold on to your butts. Oh, pass on Grant. He is great, but needs some new blood as Wally. Oh, okay. Agree to disagree there, Keith. I want Grant Gustin back. And I want to see him as the Flash in any sense. All right, let's see here. All right, guys, we're going to talk about something really fun next. Let's go to the next subject. All right. Next up, guys. As you know, it just came out today, the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer. Let's talk about reactions and things like that. So we're going to switch over to the Marvel because after weeks of rumors, leaks, and speculation, we finally got a brand new look at Spider-Man Brand New Day in the second trailer here. And honestly, guys, the reaction online has been incredibly positive. One of the biggest things fans seem to be responding to is the tone of this. This doesn't feel like another multiverse movie. It doesn't feel like a No Way Home 2. It feels like a fresh start, brand new day, if you will. It feels pretty amazing and grounded for a Spider-Man movie, which is perfect. It's a more personal Spider-Man story, and honestly, I think that's exactly what a lot of people are wanting. And at the end of No Way Home, Peter lost everything. His friends don't remember him. The world doesn't remember him. And for the first time in a long time, Spider-Man feels truly alone. And I definitely know that Tom Holland wants us to feel the weight of how alone this character is. And I hope he does an incredible performance with this. The trailer that we got today really seems to lean into that idea. Peter isn't trying to save the multiverse. He's just trying to survive. He's trying to protect New York, and he's trying to figure out why, after everything that's happened, he's on the fritz with his powers and things like that. And honestly, that's where Spider-Man stories are usually at their best. Now, obviously, one of the biggest talking points is Hulk, because yes, Hulk is in the movie, and we got to see him in this clip. And based on the trailer, he's not just making a quick cameo. He's clearly a big part of this story. We also have the Punisher, we've got Scorpion, and we've got the Hand, guys. And we've got what appears to be a mysterious telepathic figure affecting people's minds throughout the trailer. So while the movie looks more grounded, it definitely isn't lacking in scale. Now, let's talk about the biggest mystery in the trailer. Sadie Sink! You know, we get just like elements of this character in the background, but and we don't see her face in the trailer. But watching this footage, I completely understand why so many people think that Sadie Sink is playing Jean Grey. All signs are actually pointing to it. We see this mysterious figure apparently affecting people's minds throughout this. We see visual elements that feel very reminiscent of telepathic abilities. And we know Marvel is actively building towards introducing the X-Men. So honestly, if I had to place my bet today, Jean Grey would be at the top of that list, man. Because, no. And to be clear, Marvel still hasn't officially confirmed that yet. But after watching the trailer, I understand why fans and outlets like New Rockstars have increasingly convinced me that this is where we're headed. And if they're right, this trailer may have quietly given us our first major look at one of the most important X-Men characters in the future of the MCU. Because suddenly Spider-Man isn't just dealing with street-level threats. He's potentially laying the groundwork for the X-Men. And that would make Brand New Day one of the most important movies in the future of the MCU. And speaking of exciting, ticket sales officially went online today. And regular tickets are now available through theaters and ticketing sites and Amazon Prime members. The Amazon Prime members can also attend special early screenings on July 29th, 2 days before the film's officially released. So Sony clearly has a lot of confidence in this movie. One thing that really stood out to me is how aggressive the marketing campaign is pushing right now. Between the early Amazon Prime screenings, the ticket launch, Tom Holland publicly calling this the best Spider-Man movie they've made, Sony is clearly treating Brand New Day like one of the biggest releases of the year. And honestly, after seeing that trailer, I can understand why. Tom Holland recently described Brand New Day as having detective story elements and even called it the best Spider-Man movie ever. And that's pretty bold. That is pretty bold, guys, because let's be honest, actors say positive things about their movies all the time. That's part of the job. But what caught my attention wasn't that Tom said it. It was the confidence behind it. Calling something the best Spider-Man movie we've ever made is it's a pretty bold statement, especially after Homecoming, especially after No Way Home. So now the challenge is living up to the expectation. And honestly, after watching the trailer, I'm a lot more optimistic than I was a week ago. Because at the end of the day, the thing I'm most excited about isn't Hulk. It isn't Punisher. It isn't Jean Grey. It's Peter Parker. And after No Way Home, I think Peter is one of the most interesting places, is one of the most interesting places he's ever been in the MCU. And honestly, I think that's exactly where Spider-Man belongs. All right, let's go to the chat, guys. What did you think of the trailer? If you watched it, did it make you more excited for Brand New Day? And what was your favorite reveal? Peter Parker, Hulk, Punisher, Scorpion, Sadie Sink, the Jean Grey theory, or something else entirely? And let me ask you something else here. Do you think that Sadie Sink is truly playing Jean Grey? And if she is, should Spider-Man Brand New Day be the movie that officially introduces mutants in the MCU? Let's head to the comments. Boosh. All right. Keith says he got his tickets for the Amazon Wednesday showing and cannot wait. And this trailer was straight up fire. Savage Hulk is back. Yeah, and if you didn't catch that moment in the trailer, it appears that we're getting a Savage Hulk. He's huge. And did he look gray to you? I think he looked gray to me in the trailer when I watched it. And so if we get Gray Hulk, I'm going to be very excited. I've wanted that since, what was it? In one of the Avengers movies, I thought they were going to do Gray Hulk. In the second Avengers movie, I thought they were going to do him. So I'd love to see it. Yeah, those advanced tickets are on sale. I looked it up for my area, and unfortunately, there's no advanced screenings in my area. So we got tickets for the 30th of July. So shucks, but hey, at least we'll get to see it then. All right. So Not Just Sasquatch says, what if I told you it was awesome? What if I told you it was someone else controlling minds in the trailer? Jean will help fight off this mind control. Ooh, I do like that theory. And there's a few Spider-Man villains that also can control minds as well. So I'd love to hear it. And if we get a theory palooza on that with Not Your Status Quo, check that out, guys. And if you haven't already, subscribe to their channel. If you've subscribed to my channel. Man, I can't talk tonight. All right. Let's see. Melissa says, I love seeing more Punisher and Spider-Man. I feel like their dynamic is going to be so much fun to watch. I agree. It's going to be so awesome to see the Punisher in this because I want more Punisher, especially after One Last Kill. I felt One Last Kill was very short, and he became the epitome of the Punisher that I know from the comics right at the end of that show. And so seeing him in this is hopefully will scratch that itch. He did look gray as far as the Hulk goes in the trailer. Agreed, Not Your Status Quo. Age of Ultron. Yes, in Age of Ultron, that's when I thought they were actually going to premiere the Gray Hulk. We didn't get that, but yeah, I hope we get it here in Spider-Man. All right. So, John Campion says, I think it was Jean, but he's right. It could be someone else that Jean helps against. Agreed. I think that is... Is this the actual John Campia? If you haven't checked out his stuff, he is amazing. Go check his stuff out. Subscribe to his channel. And Not Just Status Quo says, is that the real John Campia? If it is, welcome. You are a big-time YouTuber. And yeah, I agree that, yeah, maybe we're in for some new thing that we haven't seen discussed in here. So great comment. Great to have you on here, John Campia, if that's really you. So let us know in the comments. That's amazing. All right. Guys, we're going to be moving on here. So we're going to be talking about the next subject. So give me a second here as we move on over. What are we going to be talking about? Boosh! We're going to be talking about Luke Skywalker. If you guys... Now, as always, guys, I'm going to pivot over to Star Wars because honestly, guys, every time Star Wars announces something new, every time there's a new movie, a new show, a new rumor, a new trilogy, fans still end up talking about this guy over here, Luke Skywalker, you know? And honestly, that says something because nearly 50 years after A New Hope, Luke remains one of the most beloved characters in the entire franchise. My favorite character, by the way, not because he's the strongest, not because he's the most powerful, but because people connect with his journey. People connected with his growth. People connect with his failures. And people connect with his hope. And that's one reason I'm so excited to see this Luke Skywalker series that we have coming out. And I'm currently working on with the channel. Now, guys, chapters 1 through 6 are available on Fatherly Fandom. And I want to thank everybody who is supporting this series so far. It's called Luke Skywalker's Missing Years, Part 1, between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. And as of this week, chapters 1 through 3 are available on the channel. We've explored Luke's early days in the rebellion, his search for Jedi knowledge, his encounters with the Imperial forces, the missions that helped shape him as a leader, the growth that happened between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. And honestly, guys, one thing that's been really fun is reading all of your comments about this series. I've seen a lot of people saying they've either forgotten what's happened between these films or had no idea these stories even existed. Same. And as I have been researching and doing this project, there is so much more than I thought there was. And that's why originally this was going to be one video. But with all the content that we have, I've had to expand this out. Because when you watch A New Hope and then jump straight into Empire Strikes Back, Luke feels completely different. And that's because he is. Years of adventures help shape him into the hero we meet on Hoth. And guys, guess what? Chapter 7 through 9 is coming out next. We're getting ready for the next installment here. And honestly, this is where Luke's story really starts getting interesting. We're going to see more dangerous missions, more Force discoveries, more Jedi history, more character development, and more of the experiences that help shape Luke into the future Jedi Knight we all know and love. And one thing that continues to surprise me as I work through the project is just how much during these periods just how much has happened during this period of Luke's life. The movies only show just a small piece of the story. The books and comics reveal so much more. And honestly, some of my favorite chapters haven't even been released yet. And here's something else I wanted to let everybody know. Part 1 isn't just a handful of videos, guys. It's actually a 21 chapter series covering Luke's missing years between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. So while chapters 7 through 9 is coming next, there's still a ton of story left, guys. And we're headed that way. We've got Rebel missions, more Force discoveries, more Jedi lore, more character growth, and honestly, some really incredible Luke Skywalker moments. And once all 21 chapters have been released, I'm going to combine everything together into one complete documentary style video out there. So if you've been enjoying the chapter format, awesome, guys. If you'd rather wait and watch the entire story in one sitting, you'll have that option too. The final Part 1 documentary will tell Luke's complete story between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back from beginning to end. I want this to be the definitive documentary about Luke's journey between the movies. Think, and if you want to, you can think of chapter releases as episodes, and the final documentary as a complete saga. It's gonna be fantastic. It's taken a lot of work for me, and each week I'm trying to at least get out 1 to 2 videos of this. But look forward to doing that coming up next. And honestly, we're gonna be diving into Part 2 after that, and I'm already very excited for Part 2 because Part 2 takes us into one of the fans' favorite periods of Luke's life between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. We're talking Luke building his green lightsaber, Luke dealing with the truth about Vader, his continued search for Jedi knowledge, his relationship with Leia, Chewbacca, and Lando, his transformation into an actual Jedi Knight. And ultimately, that's how he becomes Luke Skywalker, who walks into Jabba's palace at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. And honestly, guys, that might be my favorite era of Luke's entire story. And one thing I find very fascinating that Luke is... So one of the things I find fascinating is Luke continues to resonate with fans decades later. And I think part of that is because this guy's relatable. Luke fails. Luke struggles. Luke doubts himself. Luke gets knocked down, but he keeps moving forward. He's definitely not perfect. He's hopeful. And I think that's one of the reasons so many people still connect with him here. And so this has been quite the undertaking for me, guys. And I'm very much looking forward to it. And as we branch out with new content on Fatherly Fandom, look forward to new stories, new reviews, all sorts of stuff. We're going to be diving into several different things like that. And so for you guys in the chat, let's talk about this. For those of you watching this series, have you watched chapters 1 through 6 yet? Are you excited for chapters 7 through 9? And do you like the idea of releasing the story as individual chapters, one complete documentary, or both? Let me know down in the comments. And what era of Luke Skywalker's life would you most like to see explored in future series? Let's read some of the comments. Let's go to them. All right. All right. Not just that quote says celebrity in the chat. That's about John Campia in there. Love that art of Luke. Same. A lot of the artwork from the comics is amazing when it comes to Luke Skywalker. And that's another thing I've been exploring as I've been going through this documentary for Luke Skywalker's time between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, is all the different comic art that's out there. And I try to put as many of those graphics and things into these videos as possible for you guys and your entertainment. All right, Not Just Asco says, when is the next part dropping? I plan on getting this one out here. It's probably going to be, I'm going to get it to you guys by Monday. The next part's going to drop. Keith says, read all the Star Wars comics and your series is so good. Thank you, Keith. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And yeah, there's so much more content coming from this. So excited to get this series out there. He gets knocked down, but he gets back up again. Yes, he does. That's Luke Skywalker for you guys. All right. Now, we are going to go to the next segment of the show, guys. So hold on to your butts as we go. We're going to go to what I like to call Community Corner. And let's take that down for you guys. So here it is. Here's a brand new section on the show. It's called Community Corner. Honestly, guys, one of the things I've enjoyed most about making the Luke Skywalker series is seeing all of your comments, too. Seeing your theories, seeing your memories, seeing your excitement for stories that many people either forgot about or never knew existed. And that's one of my favorite parts of running this channel on Fatherly Fandom, because while I may be one of the ones sitting here talking in the microphone, Fatherly Fandom has always been about community. And honestly, some of my favorite videos on this channel started because someone in the comics suggested an idea. I mentioned this earlier with Doug. He mentioned he wanted a video on lightsaber colors. So I was like, that is a great idea. I'm going to make that for you. So I did. And I think that's a great video. Great topic. Thank you for that, Doug. And a lot of channels actually feel like a one-way conversation. I never want Fatherly Fandom to feel that way. I want this to be a place where we're building something together. So let's talk about what's next for the channel. What do you guys want to see me cover on this channel? What Star Wars topics do you want me to explore? What Marvel characters deserve a deep dive? What DC stories should we actually talk about? And what movies or shows do you want to be reviewed? What future live stream topics would you like us to discuss? Because honestly, there are so many directions that we could go here. And this is why this is becoming a massive live stream, guys. We could do more Luke Skywalker. We could do more Star Wars Legends. We could do deeper dives into Marvel history. We could explore DC characters that don't get enough attention. We could look at comic book storylines, more movie reviews, television reviews, character retrospectives. The possibilities are pretty much endless. And don't just think about next week. Think bigger. What topic have you always wanted somebody to make a video about? What character deserves more attention? What story have you always wanted explored? Because some of the best ideas on this channel come directly from all of you out there. So if you've got an idea, drop it down in the chat. And if you're watching this on replay, leave it in the comments, because there's a very good chance your suggestion becomes a future Fatherly Fandom video. And honestly, that's one of the coolest things about this community. My fandos out there, we're not just reacting to news, we're creating conversations together. So let's hear those ideas. All right, community discussion out there. What should Fatherly Fandom cover next? Star Wars, Marvel, DC, comics, movie reviews, TV reviews, live stream topics, or something completely different? Let's read some of those comments, guys. All right. We've got my wonderful wife, Melissa. She would say, I would love a Thrawn series, similar to what you are doing with Luke. Duly noted. We will, yes, I would love to do that too. Mithron Yoroto. I do have a lot of knowledge about Thrawn. I've read a lot of the books. I've read the Thrawn trilogy as well as the original Heir to the Empire in that trilogy as well. So yes, great idea. I want to do a Thrawn trilogy. Another thing I also wanted to do was like, Vader's journey between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. I could do that one as well. Oh, History of the Sith. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I do have a History of the Jedi video too from a few years ago, and I can actually explore the history of the Sith too. I've kind of delved into a little bit of the Sith history in my History of the Mandalorians, but that is a great idea. We're going to put that on the docket, Keith, as well. So great suggestions, guys. I love that. So we can do Thrawn, we can do History of the Sith. I will start working on those videos promptly. Okay, guys, we're going to move on to the next little section here. And we're going to talk about what's next for Fatherly Fandom. Now, before we wrap things up, I just want to take a minute to say thank you guys, because honestly, guys, one of the coolest things about this channel is seeing the community continue to grow. Every week, we have more conversations, more theories, more opinions, more people sharing their love for these stories. And that's exactly what I hoped for Fatherly Fandom and what it would become. A place where fans can come together and talk about the things they enjoy, not just the things they disliked. And moving forward, that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to continue covering the biggest news stories from across Star Wars, Marvel, DC, and the wider world of nerd culture. We'll continue doing deep dives. We'll continue doing reviews. We'll continue doing live streams like this one, where we can actually talk to each other and discuss what's happening in all the fandoms. And honestly, some of the ideas for future videos are probably sitting in this chat right now, and they are with Thrawn and the History of the Sith. So keep those suggestions coming, guys. Keep those comments coming, and keep being a part of what makes this community special, because Fatherly Fandom wouldn't exist without all of you guys. One thing I've always wanted this channel to be is a positive place for fans to discuss things, a place where we can disagree without being angry, a place where we can debate ideas without attacking each other, a place where we can celebrate all of these stories together, because at the end of the day, that's why we're all here. We're here because we love Star Wars, we love Marvel, we love DC, we love all these characters and all these worlds. And getting to share that with all of you guys every week is something I genuinely appreciate. And before we move on out there, I really, after we talk about everything tonight, what are you most excited for? Supergirl, Masters of the Universe, Wolverine's future, Lanterns, Clayface, Spider-Man Brand New Day, Luke Skywalker's missing years, or something else entirely? Let me know in the chat, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. And it's open. Anything else you guys want to discuss? This is Community Corner, and we'll move on over to viewer questions and live discussions right now. So whatever you guys want to talk about, this is your moment to shine, guys. So what do we got? If you got any other questions or anything like that, we can talk about it now. Yeah, and I definitely do appreciate the suggestions for the History of the Sith and the Thrawn trilogy as well. Those would be great videos too. And if you have any other suggestions, let me know now. Okay, doesn't seem like... And let's see if there's anything that I missed in the chat. I'm just going to go back real quick too. And go to the beginning. Melissa's digging the intro music. And there was a dance party. Okay, let's see here. And Keith has one. Keep on with all that you are doing for Fatherly Fandom. Is an absolutely amazing channel. Thank you so much, Keith. I really appreciate it. And if you guys haven't, he is part of Not Your Status Quo. That's an amazing channel as well. They have live streams and they have great discussions, reviews. They're doing an anime right now. Overlord, I believe, is the anime you guys are covering. And you should definitely check them out. Give them a subscribe. Great channel. Please support them as much as you can. These are all small channels here. We're not huge YouTubers or anything like that. I'm definitely not getting paid to do this. I do this because I love this and it's a passion of mine. I love to build community as well, and talking to you guys is very much all I want to do. I don't want to sell you anything. All I want to do is build a great community where we get excited about these fandoms, get excited about these movies and shows coming out, and just elevate the experience together, right? That would be really fun. All right, Not Your Status Quo says, who is your favorite Not Your Status Quo host? And why is it Keith? Keith is definitely probably the #1 fando for Fatherly Fandom. He's always commenting, sharing, and gets a lot of the first likes on all of my videos. So thank you for that, Keith. As far as my favorite Not Your Status Quo host, can I just say it's a tie? It's a 3-way tie, guys. Dave, Tug, and Keith are all pretty amazing, and I love them all for different reasons. It's like your children. You don't just love one child more than the other. At least I hope you don't. Same thing with Not Your Status Quo. You guys are all amazing. I can't choose between you guys. You guys are the best. And you each bring amazing insights to your channel and discussion and topics. it's so incredible to see you guys work. And I've been a fan and I've been supporting you guys for a long time now, and I love it. So you guys should definitely subscribe to their channel. And Natrosesco says, you are correct. Overlord Season 1. All right. Yes. And I do believe we were talking today in our chat about possibly doing a Spider-Man Brand New Day Theory Palooza. So whenever they come out with that one, I will be joining them on that and collabing with them on that Theory Palooza. That's where we'll talk about and discuss all the different theories out there about what might be coming for Brand New Day, which is going to be amazing. So, all right, guys, we are going to move along here. Move along, and get back to the main section here. Boom. Okay, guys. Oh, and before we do that, I do want to give a real quick shout out for something that's just got released today. Let's talk about it. And so before I wrap this up tonight, I just want to quickly shout out to my friend Jamie Stormbreaker and the team over at One More Game, because today is a big day for them. Swap Meet officially launches on Steam today. Actually, it's already out there. My wife actually got to play it already on Steam on the computer here. I'm going to play it too. And honestly, guys, this game looks like an absolute blast. Swap Meet is a co-op roguelite third-person shooter where you travel to alien worlds, battle bizarre creatures, and then literally swap their body parts onto your own character to gain new abilities. How cool is that? Every head, torso, and set of legs can completely change how your character plays, which means you're constantly experimenting with new builds, new powers, and some pretty ridiculous combinations. You can play solo or team up with your friends in co-op, and from everything I've seen so far, it looks like a chaotic, fun, and unique experience. Now, here's where I think I want to ask a favor for you guys. If you're looking for a new game to try this week, the best way you can support my friend Jamie and the entire team is simple. Go check out Swap Meet on Steam and play it for at least 10 minutes. Seriously, give it a shot. See what you think, because launches like this are incredibly important, guys, for independent studios and developers. A lot of hard work, passion, and years of effort go into bringing a game like this to life. And honestly, one of the best things about this community is supporting fellow creators, right? And people chasing their dreams. So congratulations to Jamie and Wonder and everyone over at One More Game on today's launch. I hope the game is a huge success, and I can't wait to hear what everyone thinks after they've had a chance to play it. And if any of you check it out after the stream, let me know what you think in the comments. And you can also let me know on social media. I'd love to hear all of your impressions, guys. And let's go to the comments real quick to see if anybody... Keith, thank you, good sir. Keith just bought it. It is a fantastic game. I can't wait to play it. So, and probably play it a little bit after the stream here. Can't wait. Same, Keith. I can't wait to play it. Alrighty, guys. Let's see here. Now, we've gotten through most of the stream here, and I think that we are going to wrap it up for the night. So, first and foremost, thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. And whether you're watching live right now or catching the replay later, I genuinely appreciate you for spending part of your day here with Fatherly Fandom. We covered a ton of stuff tonight, even with me feeling under the weather. We covered Supergirl, Masters of the Universe, Wolverine, Lanterns, Clayface, Spider-Man Brand New Day, Luke Skywalker's missing years. And honestly, the best part of these live streams is getting to hear your thoughts and opinions on all of this, because fandom is always more fun when it's something we share together. Before you go, if you enjoyed tonight's discussion, please consider helping support the channel. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, share the channel with your friends, family, and fellow nerds. And if you're watching the replay, leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Let me know what topic you're most excited about right now and what you'd like to see covered in future videos and live streams. Because some of the best ideas on this channel come directly from all of you. And honestly, that's one of my favorite things about this community. We're building something really special here, a place where we can celebrate the stories we love, have fun talking about them, and maybe even help each other discover something new along the way. So thank you again. Thanks, guys, for joining me here tonight and being here. Thank you for the support, and thank you for helping me make Fatherly Fandom what it is, as always. So before we depart and end the chat, let's just to see if there's any more comments out there. Cannot wait to play for that. Okay. All right, fellas. Thank you so much for joining me tonight here on Fatherly Fandom. As always, stay nerdy, my friends. And I will see you next time.